Welcome to the Silent Screams. Tonight, I bring you a fresh horror tale, one that crawls under your skin and stays. Tell me which moment shook you the most. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, let the fear begin. I never imagined a place like Home Depot could feel haunted. I mean, it's bright, orange, loud, and always smells like wood and paint. But the store on Canyon Ridge Boulevard, Colorado Springs, where I started working last year, it had something different in its walls. Something old, something hungry. My name is Evan Miller, and for 6 months I worked the overnight freight shift at that store. If I had known what happened there in 2019, what every employee avoided mentioning, I would have never walked in. But I was desperate for a job, desperate for a paycheck, desperate for anything that could keep my life from falling apart after my dad's stroke. I should have taken the warning signs seriously, but I didn't. And because of that, I'm writing this from a cheap motel in Pueblo, hands shaking, praying whatever followed me doesn't find me here. My shift started at 9:45 p.m. The store closed at 10. By the time customers left, the place got eerily quiet. Our freight team was small, just 4 people. Tina, the tough-as-nails supervisor. Mark, older guy, quiet, barely spoke. Jesse, 19, too energetic for night shift. My first night, Tina walked me through the aisles. "This store's layout confuses some folks," she said, "especially after midnight. If you hear something, don't freak out. This building settles a lot." The way she said it made me uneasy. We passed aisle 17, lumber, and I swear I heard someone whisper my name, not like Evan carried by wind, but like a voice close to my ear. I turned. No one. "You okay?" Tina asked. "Yeah, just tired." She gave me a look like she didn't believe me. I should have trusted that first instinct. Something wasn't right with that aisle. Around 1 a.m., I went to bring down a pallet from the high steel racks. While climbing the ladder, I looked across the aisle and noticed a door I hadn't seen earlier. A completely plain gray metal door, no label, no sign. "What's behind that door?" I asked Jesse later. He stopped taping a box. "What door?" "Aisle 17, at the end." He froze. His face went pale. "You're joking, right?" "No." "Why?" "There's no door there." I laughed. "I literally saw it." But the way Jesse stared at me made my stomach twist. He whispered, "Don't go near aisle 17 alone. I'm serious." That was the moment I realized the others were hiding something. At break, Mark finally spoke. "You saw the door, didn't you?" I nodded slowly. Mark rubbed his forehead. "We lost a guy there in 2019. "Lost? What do you mean?" "He went in. Security footage showed him walking down the aisle, stopping at the end. Then, nothing. He never walked out. They said it was a glitch. But the police dogs kept circling that exact spot." My stomach dropped. "What was his name?" I asked. "Kyle Ramsey, stalker. Nice kid. They said maybe he ran off, but his phone and car were still in the lot." I swallowed hard, suddenly feeling sick. "So there really was a door?" Mark nodded. "But management welded it shut. It shouldn't even open anymore." But I had seen it, clearly, bright as day. 2 weeks later, I was assigned to work alone in lumber to rearrange products. I kept avoiding the end of the aisle, but something kept drawing my eyes toward it. The store lights flickered faintly. The air felt heavy, like humidity trapped indoors. Then I noticed scratch marks on the floor, long, deep grooves leading toward the same blank wall where the door should have been. Not fresh, not old either. Looked like someone or something had been dragged. I walked backwards slowly, heart pounding. Behind me, from the high rack above, a piece of plywood slid off and slammed to the floor inches from my feet. I jumped back, yelling. I knew no one else was in the aisle. When I looked up, someone was standing behind the steel rack bars. Not fully visible, just a shape. A silhouette of a man, head tilted, watching me. But when I blinked, gone. I ran. I told Tina what I saw. She didn't laugh. Instead, she locked the break room door and closed the blinds. Then she took out her phone and showed me a video. Security footage. Night Kyle disappeared. She hit play. The black and white screen showed Kyle walking down aisle 17 with a cart. Nothing strange. Then he stopped at the end, looked left, then right, confused. But then, something invisible grabbed the cart. It yanked it violently into the blank wall. Kyle stumbled, trying to pull it back. He looked terrified. Then his body jerked forward, like someone grabbed him by the neck. He was lifted off the ground, struggling, kicking, and then he vanished into the wall. Just like that. 1 second he was there. The next, he was gone. No cuts in the video. No glitches. No edits. I stared at Tina, speechless. "What the hell is that?" I whispered. She shook her head. "That's why we never talk about it." 2 months into the job, everything got worse. Lights began shutting off on their own. Voices whispered constantly. Objects moved. Tools clattered across aisles. Employees quit. Jesse transferred. Mark stopped showing up. One night around 3 a.m., while sweeping aisle 17, I saw something that froze me in place. The gray door had returned, perfectly intact, brand new. Even worse, it was open a few inches. Cold air seeped out like breath from a freezer. A horrible smell oozed from the darkness, like rotting wood soaked in dirty water. For some reason, I felt drawn to it, like something was pulling at my mind. I slowly reached for the handle. Before my hand touched it, a voice behind me whispered, "Don't." I spun around, no one there. When I turned back, the door was wider. I don't know why I stepped inside. Maybe I wasn't myself. Maybe whatever lived there wanted me. The door closed softly behind me, though I never touched it. The inside wasn't a room. It wasn't even part of the building. It looked like a narrow hallway made of plywood, old lumber, pieces of construction material stitched together like a maze built by a madman. The floor creaked with every step. The air felt wet. Then I heard breathing. Not mine. Slow, heavy breathing echoing through the darkness. "Hello," I whispered, my voice cracking. A hand touched my shoulder. I turned violently. No one. But then I heard footsteps running toward me from the far end of the hallway. Fast, heavy, charging. I bolted back toward the door, shoving it open. As I burst out into the aisle, something swiped across my back. I cried out, falling to my knees. Tina found me trembling. My shirt was torn, my skin sliced open. But nothing had touched me. Nothing I could see. 2 days later, I decided to quit. I couldn't take it anymore. But my last shift, the thing that happened that night, is what still haunts me. At 2:13 a.m., the store radios crackled. "Evan, come to lumber." It was Mark's voice. But Mark hadn't been to work in weeks. I froze. "Evan, help me." The voice sounded strained, desperate. Against my better judgment, I went. Aisle 17 was pitch black. Even the emergency lights were off. My flashlight flickered, but stayed on long enough to reveal footprints, bare footprints, leading straight to the door, and the door wide open. Inside, someone whispered, "Please, don't leave me alone." It was Mark, or something pretending to be him. I backed away slowly. Then a hand shot out from the darkness. Not human. Long fingers, gray skin, too many joints. I ran so fast I dropped my radio. Behind me, that thing screeched, a sound I pray no human ever hears. Tina saw me sprinting and pulled the fire alarm. The whole team evacuated. But as we ran out the front doors, I swear I saw the silhouette of that thing standing far down aisle 17. Watching me leave, corporate sealed off the entire aisle. They claimed it was a structural issue. The store reopened. Employees changed. Life moved on. But 3 nights ago, someone knocked on my motel door. Slow. 3 taps. Just like the sound I heard behind the plywood hallway. I didn't open it. But this morning, I found something on the ground outside my door. A Home Depot orange price tag, with my name written on the back. In handwriting I recognized. Kyle's. I don't know how it followed me. I don't know when it will appear again. But if you ever walk into a Home Depot late at night, and you pass aisle 17, don't look down the aisle. Don't look at the wall. And whatever you do, don't open the door. Story 2. I never thought a simple closing shift at Home Depot in Ridge Creek, Colorado would leave me afraid of empty aisles for the rest of my life. My name is Evan Mercer, 28 years old, night shift associate in the lumber and hardware department. I took the job 2 years ago, steady hours, quiet nights, and a predictable routine. Ridge Creek wasn't big, maybe 15,000 people, but our Home Depot was huge. Locals said the company built it over a demolished factory that burned down in the 80s. Nobody thought much of it, except me, because some nights, things didn't feel right. It was late October, snow hadn't started yet, but the air had that frozen edge that cuts straight through your jacket. My shift began at 9:45 p.m., and it was closing night. Closing nights meant only 4 of us stayed until 1 a.m. Me, Crystal from customer service, Owen the night manager, and Luis from garden. Crystal always joked that the store felt haunted after 11. I always laughed it off. But that night, as soon as I walked in, I felt it, like the air pressure suddenly dropped. A strange heaviness, like something was waiting. "Yo, Evan!" Owen called from the service desk. He was flipping through inventory sheets. "You good to cover lumber tonight?" "Yeah," I said. "Anything weird?" He hesitated before answering. "Just keep an eye on aisle 47. Some sensors picked up movement after close last night." Aisle 47 was deep in the back, near the plywood stacks. The cameras always glitch there. We blame bad wiring. But the truth? No one liked going back there alone. By 11:30 p.m., the store was silent. No customers, just humming lights and distant forklifts. I was restocking plywood sheets. The air smelled like sawdust and cold metal. Then I heard it, a slow shuffle, footsteps. Behind me. I turned. Nothing. Only the long, empty stretch of aisle 47, lit by flickering orange-white fluorescent bulbs. "Crystal?" I called. My voice echoed. No answer. The footsteps came again, closer this time, slow, uneven, like someone dragging one leg. I gripped my box cutter tight and edged toward the corner. "Aisle 47 motion sensor triggered," the overhead speaker suddenly announced in a robotic tone. I froze. That sensor only goes off if something big moves through the aisle. I peeked around the corner. At the far end stood a tall figure, back turned to me. It was wearing something dark, maybe a jacket, or something torn. Its shoulders were hunched like it was breathing hard. "Hey!" I shouted. "We're closed!" The figure didn't react. Instead, it turned around slowly, painfully slowly, and there was no face, just darkness where the face should have been. I sprinted out of the aisle, nearly dropping the box cutter. My heart pounded like it wanted to rip through my ribs. I ran straight to the front desk where Owen was reviewing registers. "Dude, there's someone in 47, I gasped. Owen looked up sharply. "Customer?" No, not a customer. I don't know what it was." He sighed, annoyed. He grabbed the walkie. "Luis, check 47. Evan thinks someone's in the aisle." Before I could argue, the monitors in front of us flickered. Aisle 47 cam feed active. The screen lit up. But what we saw wasn't normal. The figure was still there, standing perfectly still at the center of the aisle. The camera image glitched, lines running across it like static. Its head twitched unnaturally fast. "What the hell?" Owen whispered. Crystal walked up behind us, rubbing her arms. "Guys, who's that?" The figure suddenly snapped its head upward, staring directly into the camera. But again, no face, just empty blackness. Then the feed went dark. We grabbed flashlights and headed toward the back storage area. The store was silent except for our footsteps and distant HVAC noise. When we reached aisle 47, it was empty. But the plywood stacks on the ground told us someone, or something, had walked through recently. "Check the back exit," Owen ordered. The back emergency door was slightly open, but it should have been locked and alarmed. Owen pushed it wider, revealing a small concrete loading zone. Snowflakes drifted in the cold air, and on the ground, just at the edge of the light, were footprints in the dust. Human footprints, bare feet, one of them dragging. Crystal whispered, "This is not normal." Owen's walkie crackled suddenly, but the voice wasn't Luis. A distorted whisper came through. "Don't look! Behind you!" We all spun. Nothing was there. "Luis!" Owen called into the walkie. "Where are you?" No answer. The store felt even colder, even quieter, like someone hit mute on the world. "We need to check the garden section," I said. Garden had the weakest lighting after hours. The long glass doors reflected our flashlights like mirrors. We moved slowly, scanning the aisles of dead plants and lawn furniture stacked for winter. "Luis!" Crystal called. We heard something shift behind the pallets, a soft groan. We rushed over and found Luis's vest on the ground. Just the vest. It was ripped down the middle, and next to it, long black marks on the concrete, as if something had been dragged away. We ran to the manager's office to call the police, but when Owen tried dialing 911, the phone only emitted static. Deep, distorted static that made our skin crawl. I looked at the wall. An old frame blueprint of the store hung there. The corner was burned slightly. I'd seen it 100 times, but tonight something made me look closer. There was something off. "Why does the blueprint show an extra hallway?" I asked. Owen frowned. "What?" I pointed at a narrow corridor on the blueprint labeled North Maintenance Tunnel, closed 1987. But that hallway didn't exist in the present layout, unless it was behind the drywall, behind aisle 47. Crystal swallowed hard. That thing came from there. We went back to aisle 47. The plywood had been pushed aside, revealing a cracked line in the wall. As soon as I touched it, cold air poured through. Owen grabbed a crowbar from the tool section and pried the crack open. A chunk of drywall broke away, revealing darkness behind it. A narrow passage made of old bricks. A tunnel. The same tunnel from the blueprint. Luis's walkie suddenly crackled from inside the tunnel. A soft, shaking voice whispered, "Help! Me?" We froze. "Luis, where are you?" I shouted into the darkness, but his voice changed. It stretched, distorted. "Come, closer." That wasn't Luis anymore. I stepped inside the tunnel first. The air was cold, damp, rotting. Our flashlights barely cut through the darkness. It seemed to swallow the light. About 10 feet in, we found scratch marks on the wall. Deep ones, like fingernails had carved into concrete. Crystal whispered, "Let's leave, please." Before Owen could answer, we heard it. Breathing, slow, wet, heavy. Something crawled out of the darkness, low to the ground, limbs bent wrong. Its body was human-shaped, but stretched, like it had been pulled apart and sewn back together. And where its face should have been was only blackness, a hollow void. It rose slowly on disjointed limbs. Its neck cracked loudly, snap, bending toward us at an impossible angle. Crystal screamed. The thing lunged. We ran full speed out of the tunnel and down aisle 47. The creature's hands scraped the floor as it crawled after us, too fast for its twisted shape. Owen grabbed my arm. "Break room, go!" We sprinted through the aisles, lighting flickering above us, until we reached the break room. Owen slammed the door and locked it. The creature hit it seconds later. Once, twice. Boom! Boom! The metal bent inward. Crystal sobbed uncontrollably. I held the door handle with both hands, even though I knew it wouldn't help. Then the banging stopped. Silence. Dead. Total silence. Owen whispered, "Is it gone?" I put my ear to the door. Nothing, until a whisper, inches from the other side. "Evan." My whole body went cold. "How does it know my name?" I whispered. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It was dragging something across the door. Then the lights died. The room went black. Crystal screamed. In the darkness, I felt something cold touch my ankle. I kicked wildly, falling backward. Owen shouted, "Get to the emergency exit!" We scrambled toward the glowing red sign. I didn't look behind me. I couldn't. We burst through the emergency door, alarms screaming into the night. Freezing air hit my face as we sprinted across the parking lot toward the main road. Then I made the mistake of turning back. In the doorway, in the flickering alarm lights, the creature stood there. its body trembling violently, head twitching, and in one jerking motion, it raised its hand, Luis's Home Depot ID badge hanging from its fingers. Crystal collapsed to the pavement, sobbing. Two police cruisers pulled in a minute later, lights flashing, but when they entered the store, they found nothing. No creature. No tunnel behind aisle 47. Not even the broken drywall. Everything was normal, like nothing ever happened. They never found Luis. Home Depot corporate shut the store for electrical renovations. But I know why. We all know why. Something is still inside that building. Something that watches. Something that mimics. And late at night, well after closing, people in Ridge Creek swear they've seen a tall figure inside, standing in aisle 47 waiting. Story 3. I never believed a place as ordinary as Home Depot could change the way I slept at night. But the night shift at the Home Depot in Maple Ridge, Colorado, taught me that some buildings don't stay empty when the doors close. Some buildings breathe. I was 27 when I took the job. My name is Evan Mercer, a part-time contractor who needed extra income after my dad suffered a stroke and the hospital bills started piling up. Nights were quiet, and the manager, Tom Riley, promised nothing but dust, forklifts, and bad country music. I thought it would be easy, until the night I saw the lights flicker in aisle 47, the aisle we never used. Home Depot stores don't even have a numbered aisle 47 in all locations. Ours did, and nobody talked about it. The first time I walked past it, I felt cold air blow across my back, even though the store's heating system was running strong. The overhead sign didn't say plumbing, electrical, or garden. It said, temporary storage, do not enter. Something about those words felt wrong, like they weren't meant for customers, but for us. My friend Jared, who'd worked here for 5 years, always joked about aisle 47. You want to keep your job? Don't scan anything from there. Don't inventory it. Don't talk about it. That aisle wasn't built for us, he would whisper. What does that even mean? I asked. He shrugged. Ask Tom. He won't say much. Tom was a tough guy. Retired Marine, clean cut, never joked. But even he avoided aisle 47. He kept the key to that section clipped to his belt, away from everyone. I once saw him walking past the aisle at 2 a.m., and he deliberately looked at the floor, not at the shelves. On my third night, I was restocking lumber when the store lights dimmed for a second. It wasn't unusual. Night maintenance sometimes tested the grid, but the dimming lasted longer than normal, about 6 or 7 seconds. In the dark, I heard something metal drop inside aisle 47, a loud clang. At first, I thought someone was inside, but nobody ever went in, not even day staff. I pulled out my flashlight and walked toward the aisle. Every step felt heavy. The air got colder. The store went silent except for that soft humming sound the lights make when they flicker. My hands trembled as I reached the end cap and shined the light inside. Something was standing there. It looked like a man, but taller, with shoulders too broad and a face blurred by shadow. He wasn't moving, just staring straight at me, like he'd been waiting. Hello? I whispered. The figure tilted its head slowly, unnaturally slow, like its joints didn't work the way ours do. My throat tightened. I stepped back. The figure stepped forward. I turned off the flashlight by mistake in my panic, plunging the space into darkness. When I turned it back on, the aisle was empty. No footsteps, no breathing, no sign anyone had been there. I almost convinced myself I imagined it until I saw the mark on the floor drag lines. Long, deep, and fresh. Like someone had been pulling something heavy across the concrete, something that resisted. When I went home that night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that shadowed face, the way it tilted its head like I was interesting or familiar. The next night, I told Jared what happened. His reaction wasn't what I expected. He didn't laugh. He didn't call me crazy. He just stared at me and said quietly, "You shouldn't have looked inside." "Jared, what's in that aisle?" He swallowed. "There was an accident, years ago, before the store was remodeled. A worker got crushed between the shelves. They never found his body." I frowned. "What do you mean they never found it?" "I mean they searched for 2 weeks. Police, cadaver dogs, firefighters. They found blood, tools, a torn vest. But no body, and weird things happened. Lights going out, shelves shifting, people getting locked in rooms. And the store stayed open? He laughed bitterly. Corporate pretended it never happened. They sealed up the section with concrete. When they rebuilt, they called it Aisle 47. And now? That aisle is his place now. Or whatever he became. I didn't believe him. Not fully. Not until the following night. At 2:13 a.m., the store alarms went off. Motion detected. Aisle 47. Tom stormed out of his office with the keys already in hand. "Nobody goes near that aisle," he barked. "Evan, stay with Jared. Don't move." But as Tom jogged toward the aisle, the overhead store speakers crackled. A voice came through. Not a normal voice. A heavy, distorted breathing. Then a rasp. "Help! Me!" Jared grabbed my arm. "Ignore it. Don't listen." But the voice kept calling. "Help! Me! Please!" The security monitors flickered to life automatically. There are 12 screens, each showing a different aisle. 11 were normal. Aisle 47 showed movement. The figure I saw earlier was pacing slowly between the shelves, dragging something behind it. Something long, something limp, a human leg. I felt my stomach twist. "Is that?" Jared shook his head violently. "Don't say it. Don't even think it." The motion alarm kept blaring. Tom disappeared behind the aisle wall. We watched the monitor breathless. The figure stopped walking, turned toward the camera, and smiled. It was the most broken, unnatural smile I'd ever seen. Suddenly, the camera view shook violently, like the force of something slamming into it. Static filled the screens. The alarms cut abruptly. The store went completely still. "Tom's in there," Jared whispered. I didn't think. I just ran. "Evan, stop!" he yelled behind me. But something in me couldn't leave Tom alone. The store felt wrong, like the air itself was vibrating. When I reached aisle 47, I expected darkness. Instead, the overhead lights were bright white. Too bright, like hospital lights. And Tom was standing at the entrance, frozen, his eyes wide, mouth open, but not breathing, not blinking. His entire body was stiff. "Tom," I whispered. He didn't answer. His hand slowly rose, not naturally, but like invisible strings were lifting it. He pointed toward the middle of the aisle. I followed his gesture. Something lay on the floor, a Home Depot orange apron, but old, torn, dusty, and covered in dried blood. When I bent down, a whisper crawled into my ear. "I'm still working? Can't leave yet." I jumped back so fast I fell onto the concrete. Seconds later, all the aisle lights shut off at once. I scrambled backward, heart pounding. I could barely see, but I felt something move in the darkness. Slow steps, heavy breathing. Something dragging. Tom's voice suddenly broke through the dark. "Get out!" But his voice wasn't coming from his mouth. It came from the middle of the aisle, where the bloodied apron had been. Jared appeared behind me, pulling me to my feet. "Come on, we need to go. Now!" The shelves began to shake violently, tools falling, boxes sliding, hammers clattering onto the floor like thousands of metal footsteps. The dragging sound got closer and closer. A silhouette rose slowly from the ground, too tall, too thin, like bones wrapped in an apron. The same blurred face I saw before. It raised its arm, not at me, at Tom. Tom walked forward slowly, against his will, his head jerking like he was fighting something. "No!" I yelled, but it was too late. The creature's hand wrapped around Tom's chest. His body jerked once, and then he collapsed like his spine had turned to dust. I screamed. The creature turned to me and whispered, "We need more workers." Jared dragged me out of the aisle, both of us sprinting toward the emergency exit. The store lights flickered violently, aisles warping in shadow as something huge moved behind them. When we reached the loading dock doors, the metal shutters slammed down on their own. Locked. "Help! Someone open this!" Jared yelled, pounding on the metal. Another voice joined his, mine, except it wasn't my voice. It echoed from behind us. "Evan, you forgot your shift." We turned. The creature was crawling across the ceiling like a spider, limbs bending backward as it moved toward us. I grabbed Jared's arm. Run! We sprinted toward the front entrance. The loudspeaker crackled to life again. Attention, associates! Shift change! The creature screamed, an ear-splitting metallic shriek. The front doors slid open violently as if pushed by an invisible force. We ran out into the cold Colorado air and didn't stop until we reached the street. The police arrived minutes later. Inside the store, no sign of the creature, no sign of Tom. Aisle 47 was gone, literally gone, replaced overnight, according to the blueprints, with a blank wall. Corporate denied everything. Jared quit the next day. I tried to move on. I tried to forget. But sometimes, late at night, Home Depot commercials come on TV, and for a split second the screen glitches, and I see him. The tall figure, the apron, the broken smile. Shift starts now, Evan. Story 4. I never thought the quiet night shift at the Home Depot in Maple Ridge, Oregon would ever become a part of my nightmares. I took that job thinking it would be simple. Restocking lumber, guiding occasional late customers, sweeping aisles, nothing more. I was 28 back then, living alone after a rough breakup, trying to rebuild myself and start fresh in a new town. Home Depot was familiar, structured, bright. A place where nothing unexpected ever happened, or so I thought. It started on a cold Tuesday evening in November. I clocked in at 10:02 p.m., late as usual because my beat-up Ford took forever to warm up. My manager, Clay Morton, waved me inside. "You're covering garden, lumber, and half of electrical tonight," he muttered, rubbing his temples. "Corporate's writing me about inventory. Do me a favor, don't leave shelves half done." "Got it," I said. The store was nearly empty except for a couple buying Christmas lights and an old man staring at faucets for an unreasonable amount of time. By 11:20 p.m., the store went quiet. Too quiet. That was when the security cameras glitched. The monitors in the front booth flickered like a dying light bulb. Lines rolled across the screens, splitting the aisles into jittering distortions. Clay hit the side of the monitor. "Piece of junk. It's always aisle 18 that cuts out first." Electrical aisle, the one with lighting fixtures, chandeliers, lamps, LED strips. The aisle I hated the most because it always felt watched. "It's probably wiring issues," I told him, but my voice didn't sound convincing. Clay shrugged and walked away to finish paperwork. As the feed glitched, I noticed something. A dark shape standing in the center of aisle 18. Still, unmoving. I blinked, looked again. Gone. I told myself the glitch created the shape. But deep inside, something felt wrong. Around midnight, an announcement echoed through the empty store. "Ash! Customer needs assistance. Aisle 8T." The intercom crackled violently. My heart dropped. No one touched the intercom. The button was in front of the registers, and Clay was in his office. A shiver ran down my spine. I grabbed my radio. "Clay, did you page me?" No reply. I walked toward aisle 18 anyway. Duty over fear. The store lights buzzed overhead as I pushed my cart of boxed fixtures. When I turned into the aisle, my breath caught. Someone was standing at the far end. Tall, thin, motionless. Wearing a dust-covered brown coat, hunched slightly forward as if his bones couldn't carry the weight of his body. His head hung low, long dark hair hiding his face. "Sir?" I called out, my voice shaking. "We're closed in 20 minutes. Can I help you find something?" No answer. I took one step forward. His head twitched, a sharp, unnatural jerk, like a broken puppet. I froze. "Then," he whispered, but not with his mouth. His voice came from the intercom speaker directly above me. "Don't turn around." My blood ran ice cold. I ran. I didn't look back. I sprinted straight down the aisle, my cart crashing into shelves as I flew past them. When I reached the main floor again, gasping for breath, Clay stormed out of his office. "What the hell are you doing? Customers can hear that." There's someone in electrical," I panted. "He spoke through the intercom." Clay cut me off. "The intercom's unplugged, man. I'm rewiring the desk." "Unplugged?" I stared at him. "What are you talking about? It just spoke." Clay pointed at the disconnected cable lying on the floor. My stomach lurched. Something else used it. Clay and I went to check the aisle together. The aisles were large, rows stretching so high you could barely see the top. He walked casually, irritation in his step, while I followed like a terrified child. When we reached aisle 18, it was empty, but something was off. The boxes were rearranged. Every single lighting fixture faced outward, perfectly aligned, symmetrical, unnatural, like someone spent hours placing them with obsessive care. Clay shook his head. Some of the night guys do dumb pranks. Ignore it. But I saw something he didn't. At the end of the aisle on the floor, two wet footprints, bare footprints, leading into the back warehouse door, and they weren't shaped like any human foot I'd ever seen. Long, thin, almost claw-like. I didn't say a word. The next night, my coworker Hank, a man in his 60s with a limp and a permanent smell of coffee, confronted me behind the paint counter. "You saw him, didn't you?" he asked without blinking. My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" He wiped his hands on a rag and leaned closer. "The man in the coat. People say this store's got one of them attachments." I almost laughed. "Come on, Hank." But his eyes were dead serious. He lowered his voice. "Back in 2010, before you moved here, a contractor went missing during an overnight remodel. They never found him. Just his boots on the rafters above electrical." My skin crawled. "He wasn't the only one," Hank continued. 2 years later, a girl working freight saw someone walking in aisle 18 after close. She quit the next day. Said he whispered from the lights. I swallowed hard. "It's not a ghost," Hank whispered. "It's something that lives between the aisles, in the empty spaces, feeds on quiet places, big buildings, likes fluorescent lights." "Why tell me this now?" I whispered. Hank stared straight at me. "Because it's watching you." 3 days later, something happened that forced us to stay inside. A winter storm hit Maple Ridge so hard that the whole parking lot iced over. Roads shut down. Corporate told us to lock the doors and finish our shift until the storm passed. We were stuck inside. Just me, Clay, Hank, and two cashiers. At 1:14 a.m., the power flickered. Then the lights went out. For a moment, the store was pitch black. Then the emergency backup lights clicked on, bathing everything in a dull red glow. The building felt alive, breathing. A metal crash echoed from somewhere in the aisles. Clay grabbed a flashlight. Probably a shelf collapsed. But deep inside, I knew exactly which aisle it came from. We moved together, 5 employees walking like a terrified pack of animals, through the darkened Home Depot. When we reached aisle 18, all 5 of us froze. The entire aisle was destroyed. Boxes torn open, light bulbs shattered, chandeliers ripped from hooks. And in the center of it, something stood there, the man in the coat. Only this time, he wasn't still. He was convulsing, shaking violently like something inside his body wanted out. Clay raised his flashlight. The beam hit him, and the man snapped his head upward. His face, God, his face wasn't human. His eyes were hollow black pits, stretched too far apart, his mouth too wide, torn at the edges like it had been carved open. And then, every light in the destroyed aisle turned on at once. Shattered lights, broken fixtures, dead bulbs, all glowing bright white, all pointing toward him, like he controlled them. Hank screamed. The cashiers ran. The man or creature lurched forward, limbs bending the wrong way as he moved. He didn't walk. He slid, straight toward me. "Run!" Clay shouted. We scattered. I sprinted toward lumber, weaving through stacked boards and pallets. Behind me, I heard lights bursting, one by one, like they were chasing me. The creature's voice came through every overhead speaker. "I found you!" My heart felt ready to explode. I cut through Garden Center, slipping on wet concrete as freezing wind blew through cracked skylights. The emergency exit glowed red. I ran for it. I slammed my shoulder into the bar. Nothing. It wouldn't open. Another voice spoke behind me. Not from the speakers, from inches behind my ear. "Turn around." I didn't. I ducked between 2 pallet racks and squeezed under a metal table, barely fitting. My breath fogged the air. Metal creaked around me as something heavy moved into the garden aisle. Long, scraping footsteps. Then, a low whisper. I know where you hide. The table legs bent inward as if crushed by invisible hands. I crawled out the back and bolted toward the break room. I slammed the door, locked it, and pushed a vending machine against it. My hands shook uncontrollably. I could hear it outside, sniffing, dragging, searching. The lights flickered violently, going white, then red, then dark. Then, silence. Complete silence. I waited. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, I heard Clay's voice. Is anyone in there? I moved the vending machine and cracked the door. Clay, Hank, and the two cashiers stood outside. Alive, pale, terrified. We need to leave, Clay said. Now! We stuck together as we walked toward the front entrance. The lights above us followed, turning on and off in a wave, like the building was watching us leave. When we reached the front doors, they opened automatically. The storm had calmed. Snow covered the parking lot. We hurried outside. But right before I stepped over the threshold, the intercom behind me crackled one last time. I'll see you in the lights. I ran without looking back. Home Depot corporate closed the Maple Ridge location for electrical failure and structural issues. That's what the public was told. The rest of us were told to never discuss what happened. But here's the truth. Every night since then, when I drive past any Home Depot, I see it. Not clearly, never full form, just a shape. A tall, thin shadow standing under the parking lot lights. Not moving, watching me, waiting. I moved states, got a new job, changed everything. But last night when I pulled into my apartment complex, the motion sensor lamp flickered, and in that split-second flash, I saw a tall figure in a brown coat standing between the dumpsters, unmoving, head lowered, waiting for the lights to go out again. I don't think I escaped him. I think I woke him. Story 5, I never thought a night shift at a Home Depot could ruin the way I look at any building, any aisle, any shadow. But what happened inside store number 4813 on Maple Ridge Parkway in Brighton, Colorado, still keeps me awake at 3 a.m., replaying the sounds that I swear weren't human. My name is Ethan Cole, 32 years old, divorced, and barely holding myself together. After my marriage fell apart, I transferred from the Denver store to the Brighton location, hoping a change in scenery might quiet my mind. It didn't. The Brighton store had a reputation among employees. They called the late-night stocking shift the graveyard stretch, mostly as a joke. Mostly. When I joined, I laughed with them. Now I know they weren't joking. My first week went smoothly. The store was huge, an endless maze of lumber stacks, metal shelves, pallet racks, and orange-labeled aisles echoing with forklift beeps during the day and drywall creaks after midnight. We were a small night crew. Kara, night supervisor, Miguel, forklift operator, TJ, a quiet kid who mostly wore headphones, and me. The store closed at 10 p.m. Customers gone, lights dimmed, HVAC humming like a giant sleeping animal. The first odd thing happened on a Tuesday. We were restocking aisle 14. Lumber when TJ removed his headphones, frowning, scanning the empty aisle like he felt something. You okay? I asked. He swallowed. I keep hearing someone drag something heavy, like a pallet being pulled. Kara laughed it off. Probably Miguel. Miguel yelled from 3 aisles away. Nope! Forklift's off! The dragging sound continued, slow and deep, moving from aisle 20 to 19 to 18, right toward us. But when we looked, nothing, just the stillness of long aisles and shadowed beams. I tried to shake it off. Stores make noises, metal expands, wood shifts, buildings breathe. But I couldn't shake TJ's expression, like he knew the sound wasn't mechanical. The next night, I noticed something strange. A laminated paper taped inside the break room cabinet. Do not discuss incident from 2014. Do not engage with any individual inside the store after closing. Report all suspicious sounds to the supervisor. I asked Kara about it during our 1 a.m. coffee break. She looked at the floor. Old story. One of the employees, someone snapped, got lost in the aisles during an overnight inventory. They never found him. Never found him? Inside the store? She nodded stiffly. They say he wandered the ductwork, the stockroom tunnels, the rafters. He knew the store too well. Security thought he left, but police believed he was still inside. Somewhere. I tried to laugh. Come on, you really believe that? Kara didn't smile. Just follow the rules. That night, while stacking boxes of PVC elbows, a cold draft swept down the aisle. My skin prickled. Something felt wrong. I stepped toward the end of the aisle listening. There it was again, dragging, slow, deliberate, not human footsteps, but something being pulled across concrete. I felt my throat tighten. It was 3:12 a.m. when I saw him. I was restocking aisle 22, electrical, when a silhouette appeared at the far end. A man, tall, still, facing the shelves as if inspecting something. I called out, "Sir, the store's closed." He didn't move. I took a few steps closer. The fluorescent lights flickered above him. That's when his head turned. Not toward me, but upward, like he heard something in the ceiling. He slowly raised his arm and pressed his palm flat against the metal rack. Not touching items, just feeling the steel. Every instinct screamed that something about him was wrong. His clothes looked worn, dirty, almost decayed, like he hadn't stepped outside in years. "Sir?" I whispered again. He vanished, not walked away, not ran, like the aisle swallowed him whole. I backed away, heart racing, until I collided with Miguel's cart. "You too pale to be okay," he muttered. I told him what I saw. Miguel froze. "Don't follow shadows in this store. If you see someone, walk away." "Why?" He lowered his voice. "Because sometimes they're not alive." The next night, Kara asked me to help her in the camera room. "This store has too many blind corners," she said. The monitors showed every aisle, 24 cameras, all in grainy black and white. As I scanned through them, I noticed something on camera 7 covering aisle 14. A figure, a tall figure, standing completely still at the end of the aisle. "Is that Miguel?" I asked. Kara shook her head. "He's outside unloading the truck." The figure shifted slightly, not by walking, more like it flickered, like a frame missing. I leaned closer. "Zoom in," I whispered. Kara typed commands. The screen magnified. My breath caught. He was wearing a faded orange apron, not the current design, an old one, from years ago, the kind used in 2014. The camera suddenly glitched, static ripping the screen into shards of light. Then the figure was gone. "Kara?" I whispered. She didn't blink. "That's why we don't talk about 2014. Friday night was the worst. Around 2:45 a.m., we heard a sound above us, in the rafters, in the dark metal grid 30 feet above the floor, crawling, not like an animal, not like a person on hands and knees. It was heavier, dragging weight, as if someone was pulling their whole body with their arms. TJ dropped a whole box of screws. "Not again," he whispered. "You've heard this before?" I asked. He nodded, terrified. "He uses the rafters when he doesn't want to be seen." A shadow passed above us, long, thin, distorted. We all froze. Miguel whispered, "Don't move. Don't look up." I looked up anyway. I wish I hadn't. There in the rafters, something hunched over the beam, hands clamped tightly around the steel, head hanging down, staring straight at me. A man, or what used to be one, eyes hollow, skin pale like old drywall dust, mouth twisted like it forgot how to form words. When it moved, it didn't crawl like a person. It slid, arms pulling, legs dragging stiffly behind. It made no sound except the metal vibrating under its weight. Then it whispered, a voice so dry it sounded like paper ripping. "Don't leave me alone again." I stumbled backward and ran. Kara grabbed us and pulled us into the break room, locking the door. "What the hell was that?" I demanded. She looked broken. "The missing employee, the one from 2014, his name was Darren Hux. He worked night inventory. After months of breakdowns, paranoia, and exhaustion, he disappeared. They claimed he walked out, but employees kept hearing him. How has no one found him for 10 years? Miguel answered quietly. This store has tunnels, old storage vents, abandoned crawl spaces. Home Depot remodeled half the building years ago. They sealed the tunnels but didn't clear them, Kara added, and he knows every inch of them. Suddenly we heard something slam against the break room door, but not like fists, more like a body, sliding, rubbing, dragging. The handle twisted violently. Then the lights died. Everything went black. When the backup lights flickered on, we bolted. Kara grabbed her radio. Front exit, go! We ran through aisle 18, skidding past carts and pallets. Then the intercom crackled on, but it wasn't a voice we recognized. It was him. Aisle 14, don't leave. The fluorescent lights flickered, one by one, chasing us, like he controlled them, like he wanted to hurt us. We saw him again, between aisles, his face appearing and disappearing as if the lights revealed him in broken fragments. His body jerked unnaturally, like he moved between frames rather than steps. Kara screamed, keep running! But as we reached aisle 5, TJ suddenly vanished, pulled backward into the shadows like something grabbed him. His scream echoed once, then nothing. Miguel froze. We can't leave him! But then we heard TJ's voice from the ceiling, not screaming, not crying, just saying, in a calm, unnatural tone, stay after close, stay with us. Miguel backed away, shaking. That's not him anymore. Only 3 of us made it to the front entrance. Kara banged on the locked doors. Come on! The automatic sensors didn't respond. The lights snapped off again, pitch black. Then a single overhead light flicked on in the distance. Aisle 14, the aisle he died in, the aisle he still claimed. We heard it again, dragging, slow, heavy, horribly close. He stepped into the faint light, his apron torn, his face sunken, his jaw dislocated like it had been broken years ago. He lifted his arm toward us. Help me finish inventory. We ran for the emergency exit. Miguel slammed into it shoulder first, breaking the latch. Cold night air burst in. We sprinted into the parking lot and didn't stop until we reached the road. Police searched for TJ for 2 days. They never found him. But on the 3rd night, around 2 a.m., the Brighton Home Depot security cameras recorded a figure in aisle 14. A tall man wearing 2 aprons, one old, one new, standing side by side, like someone had joined him. I quit the next morning, moved out of Brighton, tried to start over. But every so often, around 2:30 to 3 a.m., I hear dragging on the floorboards of my apartment, slow, heavy, like someone trying to pull themselves across concrete. Last night, I woke to the faint sound of a voice inside my closet. Ethan, inventory isn't finished. I haven't slept since, and God help me. I think he followed me home,